Hey, Planeswalkers, hope you're doing well and staying safe. Welcome, my friends, to the weekly episode of Friday Night Meta, where we are breaking the game down for you, equipping you with the best decks, and loading you with tons of analysis here today. It's yours truly, MetaMaster Mythras, your host, channel guide, all things Magic related. So, very excited about what we have going on. Feel free to check out the timestamps down below where we will do a recap. We'll break down best of one, we'll break down best of three, we'll equip you with a key top deck. And then on top of that, my friends, we're going to cover a very fun, cool event from last weekend and close out with a little bit of a retrospective on the episode. So if you have questions, if you have comments, let me know down below. Would love to hear from you. On top of that, feel free to hop in the Discord server. We got over 200 folks in there now. Super fun. We got a lot of things going on, looking to put together a tournament and those things. Also, on top of that, great way to support the channel down below. I did create, let's see if that goes, a little bit more swag here. I got a lot of fun things going on. You can absolutely check that out. It's a great way to support the channel down below in the description. There's other ways to do that too, and always thank you. So flip me a like if you enjoyed today's video, and let's get to it, because that's why you're here. You want to hear what's going on this week. So last week, what happened? So Boros Venata again took the lead as a top deck in best of one on the ladder, and it also commanded the top win rate spot. So very interesting for us to see that here over last week. So I should probably flip over that because there's some movement. Additionally, overall top 8 decks were definitely compressing, and things that we've been talking about on Discord, Twitch, and YouTube. Sounds like many players on top of that are playing some pretty interesting stuff, and you can certainly see that through the course of this week in terms of what we played and some of the fun decks. Now, best of 3, the major thing that happened was Jeskai Mutate dropped off the top 8 in aggregate. However, when you drill down to it, it was definitely a top play deck and had a very commanding win rate in best of 3. So is it Dragons had fallen back? Sultai Ultimatum began to kind of ascend once again in terms of one of the most played archetypes, and Naya Adventure's win rate was absolutely skyrocketing to a healthy 60%. So that's what we had last week. We covered Jeskai Mutate. It was called Mythic Mutation last week, but what deck are we going to cover this week? You'll have to stay tuned and see what we have going on. So that is the snapshot and recap from last week. Now we're going to take a look at what we have going on in our best of one meta from a wide range, and then we'll start to drill down in terms of what is going on here. So here's what we do have going on. We talked about that Venata deck. It's certainly even now with the mono red, and on top of that, the win rate is not as good as it was before. So we see mono white life gain again starting to come back up in terms of the win rate, which is very important, and we break down exactly where everything is. We do have mono black auras still in the list here, so that's certainly something important for us to keep an eye on. Like we've talked about, it is definitely growing in terms of the meta, so we'll continue to watch out for that. Here you can see really all the breakdowns, all the trends. We see Boros Venata still going up in aggregate. Mono white life gain making its plays, win rate absolutely skyrocketing. Sultai Ultimatum kind of going sideways. Dimmer Rogues, mono black auras, Boros cycling, and mono white aggro. So aggro's definitely been having a really nice win rate here, and again we see that here. But as we get a little bit closer and we get a little bit more competitive, let's take a look here as we get to platinum. Boros Venata still at the top, but not controlling again the highest win rate. We got mono white aggro, mono white life gain, certainly things that we talked about, and there's again the difference with the decks, and we see a few different actions here as we get into the competitive side. We certainly have our friends mono white aggro and life gain commanding some of the best win rates, so that's very important for us to keep in mind here. Now again, auras is still doing fairly well, and in the top 8 as we get more competitive. So let's go ahead and we'll quickly pop through these tiers so you can kind of see how things are moving. So here at the lowest we have Azor's Control. We got Cruel Stompy as an option in terms of win rate, And also in terms of popularity, look at that mono white life gain commanding a 72% win rate. As we begin to move up the stack into silver, again, we start to see some more of these things falling into play, shaping the meta in terms of what we have going on. Mono black auras being pretty healthy. Then we move into gold. Now gold starts to begin to kind of look like some more of the meta. We get platinum, so we talked about the platinum being kind of the competitive space. We begin to see that breakdown again of the reflection that we were seeing. Mono white aggro, life gain, Winata. Again, Winata starting to overcome here as the top played deck. As we get a little bit closer to diamond, we see mono white aggro, mono white life gain, Boros, Winata. And then in flow here, again, those flows being really tight. We don't see as wide of a play in some of these decks like we talked about before in the past. And we talked about that in the recap. And then last but not least, in Mythic, mono white life gain commanding a 57% win rate, 56.8 for mono white aggro, 56.7 for Boros Winata, 56.3 for mono black auras. Look at that. So again, keep an eye on what we have going on here. We see some compression like we've talked about in terms of the top end stuff, certainly going sideways. Again, we see a lot more variety, a little bit bigger range, but things certainly tend to tighten because of what we have going towards the end of the season. The set's been around for a while and it's fairly balanced as well. So that's the big piece here. That is best of one for us here today. Now let's go ahead and we will talk about best of 3. All right. So what do we got going on? What's new here? What's our friends? So we talked about this a little bit. Here we have mono white aggro at the top, and this makes sense when we got Sultai Ultimatum as one of the most popular decks, mono red aggro. And again, this was already doing well in best of one as well. Gruul Adventure doing well. Naya Adventure really kind of falling off in aggregate. Team Adventure got the Rogues decks, Izzet, and Ultimatum. So always interesting that we see Sultai Ultimatum as one of the most played decks, but not commanding the best win rate. So very, very interesting. Obviously, we know it's pretty popular. The big thing here is as we look down is this skyrocket. Sultai Ultimatum continues to go. Izzet Dragon's starting to really follow off. Mono red, same thing. We see some other stuff going on down below here. We see the cycle on the lovely Teamer Adventure deck. Naya Adventure is still kind of going up. But this is really, really key for us. Again, huge moves here that we had talked about. And then as we look down below, we see those win rates. Again, Sultai Ultimatum not getting as good. But I would recommend that's probably directly due to our friends here. Mono white aggro, if I can find it. We're not going to kill it. We'll leave it like that. But if we go mono white aggro, this has got a very, very healthy win rate, like we said, 60 or 63%. If we go to the top here, it's not included in there. So we're not going to screw around too much. But anyway, big piece, huge change there in terms of the gap. Let's get a little bit more competitive. We begin to see it's still fairly similar at the top end when we get to competitive space. Mono white aggro still doing really well. Again, we see all these things. There we go, mono white aggro. Boom, look at that. Boom, huge. And it's getting played less. Pay attention. That says something right there. That's kind of my indication of saying we probably should be playing mono white aggro for best of 3. And it's not a best 1 deck. Not a bad best 1 deck. So, excuse me. With that, my friends, here's what we got going on again that we talked about on the competitive side, reflective actually of some lower stuff. So Gruul Adventure really moving, Naya Adventure really falling off. But let's get into the competitive space. Usually as we get going down here, just not a lot of data. We begin to see it now here. Silver, again, some of the other pieces, is tempo still around, and some of these other snapshots, but we'll keep going, particularly for those of you that I know that like this. And on top of that, so again, Izzet Dragon's really heavily played on the lower end gold, and Sultai Ultimatum, as well as seeing some of the win rates here. Gruul Adventure doing really well at 72%. Because I know it's important. Now we get to platinum, where it's a little bit more reflective of the broader nature of things. So we see mono white aggro, Izzet Dragon's doing well in platinum, which is pretty important to know. And I know a lot of players like to see that, so they know what they either need to play or play against. And as we get to Diamond, we begin to see that Izzet Dragons fall off a little bit more. We got a different view at the top here. Rogues doing pretty well. And then we see these cuts here on the side and kind of the trends. And Mythic, here's what we got. So Mono Red Aggro is actually the best Mythic. Slightly not surprised. Mono White Aggro is also the best right now in Mythic. And part of that has to do with, again, the played decks and closing the gap fast. Nye Adventures doing really, really well. But as we saw earlier, as Nye Adventures kind of fell off there a little bit, that's going to open a space for Mono Red Aggro, which certainly leaves a nice space. We continue to see Jeskai Mutate up here as one of the key top decks. And those things as well. So that, my friends, is the best of one breakdown. It's also the best of three breakdown. Now we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about a key deck. I'm going to blow us black out. Actually, we can go to Mythic. And then we're going to flip back to best of one. And we're going to take a look at mono black auras. So this has been a fun deck, popular deck. We haven't covered it until this week. So I wanted to give it a little extra love and attention because it's certainly a fun deck. Nonetheless, and last Keldheim we covered one that was pretty fun, made a nice best of three sideboard. This time we got a cool sideboard for you, and Platinum to Mythic deck that you can check out. I'll make sure it's down below for you. A couple of different ways that it gets played. We can see it here, either kind of traditional mono black auras, or with the lovely lesson learned mechanic here as well. Certainly with Poet's Quill as kind of being one of those triggers there for best of one. So this is typically what we see for best of one. I'll have a best of three deck down below for you that you can check out. But let's go ahead and look at the matchups because this is always a big thing. So here we see Rogues does well against Mono White Aggro, good against Gruul Adventure, Boros Sonata, Mono Red Aggro, life gain. Obviously 50% against itself. Mono Green Stompy, it's not as good against. Izzet Dragons, it's not as good against. And Sultai Ultimatum, it's not as good against. So if you're going to play this, you're going to bet that the field is primarily packed with creature-based decks, which is something that I talked about in my video for that one. So you should absolutely check that out. Again, I'll be down below for you to give you some additional details on mono black auras, my friends. So that is the deck I wanted to pick up. I wanted you to understand because it has been around. It's actually been kind of one of those sleeper decks that people enjoy playing, and it runs well and it's fun to play. So next, what do we have going on in the tournament world? So we had Channel Fireball's Pro Showdown, my friends. So this is pretty big. This is a monthly tournament where the CFB Pro community comes together and they play some Magic. So here's what we have going on. So they had 80 folks play this month. Now here's what we have. Sean Hunter, congratulations Sean, taking it down with the lovely Nye Adventures deck, Giganta version. So still good. Sultai Ultimatum, again, Ben, here, we got Dimmer Rogues, Rakdos Sacrifice. So I covered one of these decks this week. You should check it out. Sultai Ultimatum again. So 2 of the top 8. Izzet Dragons, Mono White Aggro, and then Team Adventures. Then we got Mono Red. So a ton of stuff. Jeskai Mutate still in there. We got a ton of stuff going on here. Lots of different things. Again, representative of kind of the health of the meta and some of the stuff that we saw in Reflection in the statistics. But let's go ahead and take a look at percent of the field because this is pretty interesting. Again, Sultai Ramp, 13 decks, most of the decks, 16% of the field, so similar to MTGA. We have a negative record of 43%. So again, this time it wasn't positive, but someone always makes it through, right? If everyone plays, maybe that's it's going to make it through. Then we got Nye Adventures 10%, Teamer Adventures 10%. Nye is still having a nice win rate. Teamer still having a nice win rate. Izzet Dragons not doing so hot. Mono Red Aggro not doing hot. Mono White Aggro not doing super hot. Gruul Adventures, but the real one again here that I did want to talk about was Lurrus Rogues. So again, positioned well against a lot of stuff in the meta. So for folks to pay attention to and keep an eye on. So congratulations, our friend Sean Hunter, on your Giganta deck. Good to see how you did and how it went. and you took it down. So that's great. I did want to cover that one because that's always a fun key deck or key tournament for June. Again, we covered that. So we'll keep an eye on those things and how it progresses. So let's go back to our meta. Love it. So Planeswalkers. Here's what we got going on. We broke down last week. This week we covered best of 1, we covered best of 3. We gave you mono black auras as a list, and we talked about the Channel Fireball Pro Showdown. So a lot of interesting things moving. We saw a lot of trade ups and trade downs in terms of best of 1 and best of 3 to an extent. Perfect for us to keep an eye on. Again, we'll continue to see that compression here. Lots of players kind of playing different things. Win rates get tighter. Archetypes get tighter. It's just kind of the nature of the beast, and we've been covering this stuff for a while now. It's fun to see. So with that, where are we going from here? Well, we've started a lot of key spoilers for Forgotten Realms. We'll keep an eye out on what's going on there, how that's going to impact. Stay tuned because I do have my tier list coming as well, and I will talk about that a little bit more hopefully. And I'm debating if I should do some of these spoiler things as well. So please let me know down below if that's something you'd love to see. I'd be happy to cover it and try and make that a bit here as part of the channel for you, because I know lots of you love hearing about that stuff, and I'd be happy to provide it and kind of figure it out for you. So. With that, Planeswalkers, as always, thank you. Appreciate your support. Don't forget, pick up your books if you need something as we kind of get back to in-person play here. Because actually, that's what I would be doing. With that, or you can pick up one of these hats at the swag store down below. Other great ways to support the channel. Always appreciate it. Thank you so much. Flip me a like if you enjoyed today's video. If you have questions, if you have comments, let me know. Pop in the Discord server, my friends. Lots of cool stuff going on there. So thank you. Seriously, everyone in there, 200 strong, it's crazy, and everyone else here on the channel and everything. I can never thank you enough. So I'm glad you enjoy watching my stuff. With that said, Planeswalkers, you stay safe, you take care. We'll see you again soon. Friday Night Meta, my friends. Good luck, and until next time, we got a lot more stuff coming your way. Top decks, Friday Night Meta, this one, tier list. Standard, historic, jank, and more fun. So take care. We'll see you again soon. Until next time. Oh, and live stream, Twitch and YouTube as well. Mythras out. We'll see you again soon. Take care.